What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the MCU Character Breakdown series. I am your man, Andy York, and today we are going to be talking about Thor. Now, the character of Thor is a very complex and difficult character to grasp, from a very complex backstory to convoluted stories at times. Thor is a very difficult character to connect with. Now, while the MCU version of Thor hasn't been perfect, they have found a great way to ground the character to fit in their universe. Yes, they have sort of dulled his powers a bit, but he is still one of the most powerful characters in the entire MCU. We're going to take a look at Thor from his first appearance to Avengers Endgame. So, let's take a deep look at Thor. Chris Hemsworth has played the character since his first movie in 2011. Hemsworth was and still is the absolute right choice to portray Thor. From his look to his personality, Chris Hemsworth embodies the entire character of Thor. So let's take a look at the very first Thor movie. The origin movie of Thor is, well, not that great. It suffers from what a lot of Marvel origin movies do, but it does do a great job of setting up the character. Yes, while the story isn't perfect, it does show the growth of Thor from the beginning of the film to the very end. Obviously, the entire story is centered around that growth. He starts off the movie the way that Tony Stark starts off, as a self-centered and egotistical prince of Asgard. However, the entire first movie shows Thor's progression from unworthy to worthy king of Asgard. First, let's talk about the most recognizable character, Jane Foster. It's Loki. I'm talking about Loki. He's played by Tom Hiddleston and was MCU's top villain until this past summer. His relationship with his brother Thor is what we'll be focusing on the most. The relationship is very complex and becomes convoluted. Instead of dwelling on a romance love story, they end up taking on a brotherly love story between the two sons of Odin. We will continue, though, to look at the relationship between the two moving along. We also get to meet the father of Thor, Odin, who is played by Anthony Hopkins. Odin is the one who took away and granted Thor his ability. We are also introduced to Jane Foster, as I said before, played by Natalie Portman, the woman who gives Betty Ross a run for her money as the worst side character of the entire franchise. Her and Thor's relationship seems very forced and, well, it didn't really work from the get-go. Thor's next appearance is in the Avengers movie. This is another story that adds to the dynamic of the relationship between Thor and Loki. Other than Loki being his brother, Thor doesn't have a whole lot of reason to just show up. While the Avengers movie was a great success, we can't really say the same thing about Thor in this movie. However, we get to watch his relationship begin with all of the original Avengers. Thor's relationship with Tony and Steve starts off the same way. All three don't really make the best first impression, but they put their differences aside fairly quickly and work things out. Unfortunately, we have to talk about Thor's next movie, Thor: The Dark World. This is by far one of, if not the weakest MCU movies to date. From a weak story to quite possibly the worst villain in the MCU, this movie doesn't have a whole lot to give. Thor: The Dark World does, however, add to Thor's main story arc, which is Thor faces tremendous loss throughout his entire run in the MCU. And this movie adds to that. You see, in this film, his mother is murdered by the dark elf Malek. And this is what we see Thor face several more times in the MCU. Once again in Avengers Age of Ultron, Thor does not do a whole lot. Other than having his weird pool dream, Thor doesn't advance a whole lot here. However, at the end of the film, he begins to realize that something big is going to happen and that someone wants all of the Infinity Stones together. We have been waiting for Thor's breakout movie, a movie that captures and makes his character interesting. And this is that movie. Thor Ragnarok is Thor's perfect film. It captures his character perfectly while adding more personality and charisma to him. You see, the dynamic between Thor and Hulk is unmatchable here. From the starting the movie off, fighting each other, to becoming close friends at the end of the film, this makes for a very compelling story. This film is about Thor finding himself and realizing that he doesn't need his hammer to control his powers. While having his brother by his side again in the fight against his sister Hela, this film really gets a grasp as who Thor is. However, Thor does suffer great loss in this movie. From his father dying to his best friends being killed to fighting his sister to the death, Thor faces tremendous loss. It is covered up by comedy at times, but we still see him face great loss. However, his loss has just only begun. Thor's character makes a complete change, though, from his first movie to this movie. Infinity War comes off the heels of Thor Ragnarok, with its end credit scene being part of the beginning of Infinity War. While most of Infinity War is about Thanos, a lot of it is also about Thor. Thor does spend a great chunk of the movie trying to create Stormbreaker, even though his last film was about him realizing he doesn't need a weapon. But it does sort of make sense as to why he was on that journey to create Stormbreaker. Now, one of the biggest moments in Infinity War is Thor's introduction into the fight at Wakanda. The Russo brothers have gone on record to say that if Thor had chopped Thanos' head off, it would have become Thor's movie. But since he didn't, the movie belonged to Thanos. Thor has gone on quite a journey from his introduction to Endgame. So where will Thor be in Endgame? Well, by all accounts, he is going to play a massive role in the film. Will he be the one to deal the killing blow to Thanos this time, or will he give his life as a sacrifice to save the entire world? Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you hit a like and tell us in the comments where you think Thor will be after Endgame. Make sure you let me know if I forgot anything, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell as well. You can follow me on Twitter at ImAndyYork. You can follow the channel at Nerd Crew Podcast, and we will catch you guys in the next video.